Hey everybody, Kevin Shortell here once again, and this is part 2 of an ongoing series. How many videos in the series? I really don't know. I'm trying to keep up, as you probably are, with the fallout of the pandemic that we're in, how it affects the world financially, and how it affects the mortgage business and note investing business that we're all in. So the title on this one's 30% of all mortgages, and I got that title after reading this rather disturbing information this morning from Bloomberg. So to start with, first of all, this chart shows the so-called first wave. This was the wave of delinquencies that we had. You can see peaking in early 2010 here. That led up to the massive amounts of foreclosures that we had, and eventually then, instead of foreclosures, we had a massive amount of inventory for non-performing notes. And we're still actually working on some of those that inventory, I should say, today. So it's been quite some time since that. The second wave dealt with the hurricanes and the fallout from that. And the third wave was the bad loans that the lenders were already starting to do. Nothing down loans again, not pick a payment loans, but stuff close to it, right? People put $0 down, low credit scores, all that sort of stuff. So bad loans was the third wave. This oncoming fourth wave potentially could be massive, dwarfing what you're seeing in front of you there. That was 10%. Imagine this in 2010, 10% of all mortgages in the U.S. were delinquent. This one could be 3 times as bad, depending upon the time frame that we have where people aren't working. So part of this is really projections, but nobody really knows how long this virus and the resulting impact on businesses and such is going to actually last. So the article in Bloomberg had these 2 points that I pulled out. The first one said this: mortgage lenders are preparing for the biggest wave of delinquencies in history. If the plan to buy time works, they may avert an even worse crisis, mass foreclosures and mortgage market mayhem. So again, the time frame is critical here, but nobody really knows. Now, hopefully we peak in May, and by June things are getting back to normal. But what if it's June that we peak and then we're into July? Don't know. The longer this plays out, the worse it's going to be. Now, certainly there's government programs that are already being implicated, that are doing forbearances, that are delaying foreclosures and such. But look, getting a forbearance doesn't mean that you never have to pay that money back. In fact, there's 3 options to those government programs, by the way. One is, first of all, you get a 90-day forbearance, and after, where you don't have to make payments and such, and they won't foreclose on you. You've got to pay them back in lump sum at the end of those 3 months, plus that monthly payment. That's absolutely ridiculous, but that's what some banks are promoting. But what consumers have to realize is that's only one option that's written into the bill. The next option is to spread those payments out over 60 months to pay back those 3 months of payments that you didn't make. And the other one is to simply take all of that and put it at the back of the loan. Now, of course, that's what most people are going to do if they are knowledgeable enough, because it sounds like, at least right now in the early stages of this, that banks aren't volunteering that information. They're leaving it up to the consumer to find out. So I digress. We don't know what the time frame is going to be, but here's the deal. The second part: borrowers who lost income from the coronavirus already had a skyrocketing number, with a record 10 million new jobless claims. 10 million. Can ask to skip payments for as many as 180 days at a time on the federally backed mortgages and avoid penalties and hit their credit score, etc. But it's not a payment holiday. Eventually, as I was saying, they will have to make that up. So worst case scenario projection right now is as many as 30% of Americans with home loans, that's about 15 million households, could stop making payments. That is absolutely massive. The U.S. economy, if the U.S. economy remains closed through the summer or beyond, according to statistics by Moody's. Now, take a look at that same chart stretched out a little bit. This is actually from Zero Hedge, so it wasn't in Bloomberg, but Zero Hedge took that same article and put this chart together, which shows that peak now again in 2010, just like we saw on the first slide here. So essentially taking this and then stretching that out, and there's the peak there in 2010. If these projections are correct, look where, sorry about that, let me go back to that slide. Look where we could be. Way up here, 30% delinquencies. You can see in 2008 it peaked at 10% delinquencies, 3 times as worse. 30% of all mortgages, 10% here. Absolutely staggering. So we have to be prepared for this, right? So sharpen up your education. When you're buying notes, you're absolutely going to be more price sensitive. Expect a decrease in prices for notes, which could increase the yields on this, because it could be a great time to buy. Other projections say that we're going to take a big hit, but when the economy comes back, it's going to come back in a good, fast way. So we want to be prepared for all of that, and that's why I'm putting these series together for you. And for those of you on my consulting programs and educational programs, of course, I'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on in the industry as I see it. So thanks, everybody. Look forward to talking to you once again.